The Great Leap Forward took place in China from 1958 to 1962. It was a 5-year plan to improve China's economy. Instead of doing so, it was a huge failure that caused the deaths of about 30 million Chinese citizens. So the question I tried to answer was, why did the Great Leap Forward fail? The Great Leap Forward failed due to unrealistic expectations set by leaders like Mao Zedong, the mismanagement of people's communes, and the exaggeration of production figures, all ultimately resulting in widespread famine, killing about 30 million people. The Great Leap Forward was an economic and social campaign created by Mao Zedong with the objective of boosting China's economy at a rapid pace. Mao Zedong was the founder of the People's Republic of China, which he ruled from 1949 to his death in 1976. He created the Great Leap Forward because he wanted to create large amounts of grain and steel in efforts of modernizing China's economy and making it a global superpower. The Great Leap Forward was supposed to meet its goals by establishing people's communes where they could use cheap labor of people in the countryside to make grain and steel quickly. The Great Leap Forward was launched in 1958 with optimistic expectations, but the goals were often very unrealistic. For instance, Mao wanted China to be the #1 steel producer by 1962, which would be a 2,000% increase in production in 5 years. Throughout the Great Leap Forward, about 53,000 people's communes were established, and their mismanagement led to a vast waste of resources and time. China's government had abolished private ownership of land and forced peasants to live and work on the communes, where many farmers jointly ran one farm. The communes also managed education and food distribution. About 25,000 people lived in each commune. The communes were mismanaged. For example, farmers were encouraged to dig holes more than 3 times the normal depth and pour all their seeds into them, expecting amazing crops. All workers received the same wage regardless of the amount of work done, so many people lacked incentive to work hard. One of the big ideas of the Great Leap Forward was that peasants could contribute to industrial growth with backyard furnaces, which were small blast furnaces where peasants attempted to create steel. These furnaces were also severely mismanaged. The people operating the furnaces had no experience making steel and had little instruction, so they melted down items such as screwdrivers, doorknobs, or cooking pots. This converted helpful tools into useless lumps of metal. In addition, the wood needed to fuel furnaces caused China to lose 10% of its forests. The pressure from the government to meet unrealistic grain quotas caused local leaders to exaggerate reports of food harvested in communes, leading to widespread famine. Communes were ineffective, and there wasn't enough food being produced. Despite this, Mao insisted on moving forward. Any officials who questioned his plan were punished. This pressured local leaders to falsify reports of how much food was being produced in order to meet the ridiculous quotas. Local leaders still sent the required amount of food to the city, leaving workers in the communes without enough food. Even though workers in the countryside were running out of food, the state-run news reported photos of fields dense enough to support the weight of children and supersized vegetables such as a 132-pound pumpkin. In reality, from 1958 to 1960, grain production fell 30%. By 1960, people started dying in droves due to starvation. There wasn't food to send to the city either, so famine also reached urban areas. Farmers were so desperate for food that they ate seeds, leaves, and tree bark. When even that ran out, people ate soil and boiled leather, and even turned to cannibalism. No one knows exactly how many people died, but estimates run as high as about 50 million people. Regardless, the Great Leap Forward was a failure, and it is even more tragic to know that the disaster was caused by bad leadership and policies that could have been prevented.